Okay, it's been a couple weeks since I just did the last set, and I'm gonna try to remember where I was at. I'm gonna do a last time on Genesis chapter 12 with Abraham. Let's see, what do we have here? The call of Abraham, where God tells him about how he's going to give him a bunch of land, he's going to make his name great, and whoever curses you, I will curse. You know, the God of cursing. I need to make this clear. Jesus' father doesn't curse anybody, but the God of the Old Testament curses lots of people. And he's also using this fear thing. So like, you're afraid to go against this idea of Abraham being important because you're afraid of the curse. But God doesn't curse people. He doesn't kill people. He doesn't do any of that stuff like we saw in Genesis, the drowner of puppies. And it says, and all the peoples on earth will be blessed through you. And yeah, so Abraham goes in Egypt. Let me just start this over again real quickly. Let me skim it. I remember that his wife was attractive, and he was afraid that they would kill him for his wife, so he commanded his wife to lie for him to save his skin. And it says, when Pharaoh's officials saw her, they praised her to Pharaoh, and she was taken into his palace. He treated Abraham well for her sake. And Abraham got sheep and cattle out of this deal, meaning they gave him sheep and cattle because they were under the impression that he was her brother because he lied to him. But then it says, but the Lord, the God of death and sickness and everything else, it says, inflicted serious diseases on Pharaoh and his household because of Abraham's wife Sarai. So Pharaoh called Abraham and said, what have you done to me? He said, why didn't you tell me she was your wife? So this is implying that they had sex, which means that his wife was consenting. So this is kind of shady that his wife is the one that consents. And somehow this guy who didn't know better is going to now be punished because Abraham lied to him and his wife consented. Why didn't you tell me she was your wife? Why did you say she is my sister? Why did you lie to me, man, is what he's saying. So that I took her to be my wife, meaning slept with her. Now then, here is your wife. Take her and go away. Then Pharaoh gave orders about Abraham and to his men. They sent him on his way and his wife and everything he had. So basically, Abraham got a bunch of money and cattle out of this, basically, when the Pharaoh was trying to be nice to him because he was attracted to his sister. But they lied to him. They lied to him and they used him for stuff, and God punishes him who he was being used. He's the one that got lied to, gave cattle to him, and she consented. It doesn't say anything about how she refused or anything like that. She consented to have sex with him. And yet she's not punished for her adultery. Abraham is not punished for lying and basically pimping his wife out to save his life. Who is punished in this from the God of iniquity? The Pharaoh, who slept with her because he thought she was single. And this reminds me of a number of times where you'll hear about people dating, and then a lot of times the guy will find out that she's still with somebody. This happened to me once when I was spent a lot of time with this one female when I was in my early 20s, and she gave me she always talked about her ex, but come to find out she'd never broken up. And her ex was just who she was fighting with at the time. And I was really pissed off. But how and I ended up just cutting ties and I didn't want to talk with her anymore. It was really a jerk move what she did. I was like her backup plan, or she was whatever. But imagine if God came and punished me because I was the one who was lied to, because she told me she's single and that's her ex. It's the God of iniquity. And I'm tired of it. And these people who write these in quotes holy books, how they just don't seem to care about this injustice. So let's move on to Genesis 13. And before I do, I want to say I Google searched like, why do the Jews idolize Abraham? Period. Nothing was coming up. I'm thinking, this is ridiculous. Look at how much they refer to Abraham literally in place of God. Abraham's children is absolutely idolizing Abraham, and I don't understand why Abraham gets a pass. It's okay for Abraham to be idolized as a god. No one else can, but Abraham can. And he's not even a good person. He's just not. He's a liar. He's a thief. He pimped his wife out. He's a coward. Okay, if you weren't a coward, you would just stand and face the consequences when you go into this new city, if they like your wife or not. And if they want to kill you for your wife, well, then maybe you shouldn't have gone to that city. But a coward is, hey, let's lie so I don't get in any kind of trouble. So, and you can sleep with him too. That's okay. Just maybe we get some sheep out of this, make some cattle out of this. We'll pimp you out for this. Is basically what Abraham did with his wife, the pimp. I just don't see why he's being idolized. There are so many other characters in the Old Testament that would have at least been better candidates, like Joseph or something like that, I'm not saying idolatry is good. I'm just saying if you were going to idolize somebody, at least I would idolize somebody who was somewhat virtuous. Anyway, Genesis chapter 13. So Abraham went up from Egypt to Negev with his wife and everything he had stolen, basically. And Lot went with him. Abraham had become very wealthy in livestock and silver and gold. Yeah, I wonder why. Because he just pimped his wife out. She was very attractive, and he pimped her out to royalty. That's the thing they leave out. He just all of a sudden has wealth now. He's wealthy. And what did Jesus say about wealthy people? That's right. From Negev, he went from place to place until he came to Bethel, to the place between Bethel and Ai, where his tent had been earlier, and where he first built an altar. There Abram called on the name of the Lord. Now Lot, who was moving about with Abram, also had flocks and herds and tents. But the land could not support them while they stayed together, for their possessions were so great that they were not able to stay together. And quarreling arose between Abraham's herders and Lot's. The Canaanites and the Perizzites were also living in the land at the time. So Abraham said to Lot, let's not have any quarreling between us or between your herders and mine, for we are close relatives. Is not the whole land before you? Let's part company. If you go left, I'll go right. If you go right, I'll go left. So it does. I just want to make a point here. If you didn't know, it is saying that Abraham became very rich because of how he pimped his wife out. He became very rich in livestock, silver, and gold. And what did Jesus say about the wealthy? How hard it is for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. It's easier for a camel to shrink down to the size of a tiny needle than it is for a rich man to let go of his wealth and him shrink down so he can get into heaven. So you've got Abraham here who's actually getting larger and growing in wealth, even though Jesus spoke against the wealthy. That's why I say the one time that Jesus mentions Abraham in one verse, it does not somehow just negate his entire message about empathy, sympathy for the poor, etc. It doesn't negate his entire message just because, or give Abraham a pass somehow. He never once said that there are some people who get a pass. They're allowed to be rich and greedy and not have empathy. He never said that. So if you had to guess which line was added or modified or whatever by the Abraham idolizers, it would be the one line when he says, when Abraham and when you see Abraham and everyone else in heaven and you're not there, how are you going to feel? Makes you wonder what was really said there, since it goes against the entire message that Jesus talks about. Anyway, let's see what we have here. Alright, so he's traveling with Lot. They both became so rich that they weren't able to stay together, and his people started fighting with each other. So Abraham just says, look, you go this way, I go that way. Lot looked at verse 10. Lot looked around and saw that the whole plain of the Jordan towards Zoar was well watered, like the garden of the Lord, like the land of Egypt. This was before the Lord, this is in quotes, before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. Lot chose for himself the whole plain of Jordan and set out toward the east. The two men parted company. Abraham lived in the land of Canaan, while Lot lived among the cities of the plain and pitched his tent near Sodom. Now the people of Sodom were wicked and were sinning greatly against the Lord. The Lord said to Abraham, after Lot had parted from him, look around from where you are to the north and south, to the east and west. All the land that you see I will give you and your offspring forever. Okay, so this right here is a lie. So this never actually happened. I don't think that this is something that could ever happen because it says forever. Well, we all know the world is going to come to an end at some point. Everything that has a beginning has an end. But he's literally saying physically look around. Look to the north, look to the south, look to the east, look to the west. So he's not talking about some spiritual kingdom or anything like that like Jesus talked about, the kingdom of heaven. He's talking about a worldly kingdom, land, north, south, east, west. And he says, all the land that you see with your eyes, I will give to you and your offspring forever. Okay, this never actually happened and it won't last forever, so this is a lie. I will make your offspring like the dust of the earth. Okay, now this actually, you could say that Genghis Khan had the same thing. Raped 1,000 women and now most people in China can trace their lineage back to him. Everybody's got a little bit of Genghis Khan in them now over in Asia because he raped so many women. If you go back thousands and thousands of years, yes, your number of descendants will continually increase. It's a giant tree. So this kind of goes without saying. He says, I'll make your offspring like the dust of the earth, meaning lots of them, so that if anyone could count the dust, then your offspring could be counted. I mean, countless number of people. And he says, go walk through the length and breadth of the land, for I am giving it to you. Remember how Satan said to Jesus that Satan manages the whole world basically, and he has all the kingdoms in his control. He can give it to whoever he wants. He has land. He has all the wealth of the nations. He has all these things and he can give it to who he wants. Well, here he is literally giving this to Abraham. He's saying, go walk the length and breadth of the land, for I am giving it to you. The God of Jesus doesn't care about property disputes, doesn't kill people for their land. He doesn't kill people, period. He doesn't kill people. He doesn't care about property disputes. He is not giving wealth and property to people. Okay? Jesus literally said that the rich are cursed. Blessed are you who are poor, for yours is the kingdom of God. But woe to you who are rich, you have had your comfort now. Meaning God does not give wealth. He does not give land. He does not kill people. The God of Jesus, that is. But the God of the Old Testament is promising the liar and pimp Abraham this land that he sees. And Abraham loves it. Okay, he's got this best friend, genie, who's just going to give him land and more wealth. He already has wealth. It already said that he has wealth. A great amount of wealth. Well, it's greed. He wants more. He's getting more. He already has a lot, but now he's going to get even more. Greed. Verse 14, the Lord said to Abraham after Lot had parted from him, look around from where you are to the north, south, all you see, okay, yeah. I'm going to you. Verse 18, so Abraham went to live near the great trees of Mamre at Hebron, where he pitched his tent. There he built an altar to the Lord. He built an altar to the Lord. You know, some innocent animals are going to get killed and their blood spilled on that altar because the God of the Old Testament loves innocent blood. It just makes up for all the evils that a person does is when you kill an innocent being and spill their blood on an altar, at least for the Old Testament God. Chapter 14. At the time when Amraphel was king of Shinar, oh, these names, oh heck no, it literally just not, oh no, I'm not doing any of this. I'm gonna see if I can't summarize this. So some kings went to war against the king of Sodom. Yeah, none of this really matters. Just drama going on, people going to war. Okay, so the only thing valuable from this in verse 12 is where it talks about, the four kings seized all the goods of Sodom and Gomorrah, and all their food. Then they went away. They also carried off Abraham's nephew Lot and his possessions, since he was living in Sodom. Okay, so they stole all of Lot's stuff. Verse 13. A man who escaped came and reported this to Abraham the Hebrew. Now Abraham was living near the great trees of these names. All of whom were allied with Abraham. When Abraham heard that his relative had been taken captive, he called out all 318 trained men born in his household and went in pursuit as far as Dan. So he's not exactly turning to the other cheek right now, is he? During the night, Abraham divided his men to attack them, and he routed them, meaning he killed all of them. He murdered them. Pursuing them over property, too, by the way. Pursuing them as far as Haboth and north of Damascus. He recovered all the good. He recovered all the goods and brought back his relative Lot and his possessions. So it was a lot more about property than anything. Together with the women and the other people. After Abram returned, defeating Kelad, the kings allied with him, the king of Sodom came out to meet him in the valley of Shphrah, that is the king's valley. Then Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought out bread and wine. He was priest of God Most High, and he blessed Abram, saying, okay, so this is really strange right here. You've got this guy, Melchizedek. Cheese Dick. Okay? Cheese Dick, the high priest, blessed Abraham. You just can't make this up. Blessed Abraham, saying, blessed be Abraham by God Most High, creator of heaven and earth, and praise be to God Most High, who delivered your enemies into your hands. See right here, the God of murder, the God of death. God took favor on him, on his side in the war, and he killed everyone else. See, this is very primitive. You know, if you're on God's side, he'll bless your crops, he'll murder your enemies, he'll do all this stuff. He's a homeboy. Then Abraham gave him a tenth of everything. So here we go, a tenth of everything. See, you do something for me, I do something for you. The tithe. The king of Sodom said to Abram, give me the people and keep the goods for yourself. But Abram said to the king of Sodom, with raised hand I have sworn an oath to the Lord God Most High, creator of heaven and earth, that I will accept nothing belonging to you, not even a thread or the strap of a sandal, so that you will never be able to say, I made Abram rich. Okay, so he's giving the property up, but what my men have eaten, and okay, I will accept nothing but what my men have eaten, and the share that belongs to the men who went with me. Okay, so he's not keeping, this is kind of silly, he's not keeping any of the king of Sodom's stuff. He just wants his people wants their stuff. And so, yeah, that kind of goes without saying, though. He's not going to take any of the king of Sodom's stuff. He's going to let king of Sodom have his stuff back, but his own people, they'll get his stuff back. Okay, so that kind of makes you think that it wasn't all out of property when you read this, or it wasn't all for property when you read this. All right. Next chapter, chapter 15. Okay, the Lord's covenant with Abraham. This should be interesting. So, after this, the word came to Abram in a vision. You know, the same vision that told him to murder his child. Do not be afraid, Abram. I am your shield, your very great reward. But Abram said, Sovereign Lord, what can you give me since I remain childless? What is it with Abraham? Give me something. Give me. Me, my land, me. Lie, woman, lie. Get money. I'm a pimp. Get me my money. Me, my land. Look at all this land. It's this guy? Seriously? But Abram said, Sovereign Lord, what can you give me since I remain childless, and the one who will inherit my estate is Eliezer and Damascus? And Abram said, you have given me no children. So now he's getting, now you know what? He's getting mad at God. Despite all the wealth and all the cattle and everything that he has, he's still not happy. He's a very discontent person despite having everything. You've given me no children, so a servant in the household will be my heir. So he wants more. Greedy, wants more. And you know what's interesting is the people in the Old Testament, in Numbers, the Hebrews who were just asking for food, we're asking God of a lot less It's very natural to ask for food when you're starving. And the God of the Old Testament sent poisonous snakes to kill them. Now, you've got Abram here who he's been spoiled rotten. He's got all kinds of wealth and cattle and a very attractive wife and all this stuff. But he wants more. He wants children. And now he's getting demanding with God. You have given me no children, Lord. He said he's saying this to the Lord. I would not be saying this to the creator of existence. But again, he's talking to a demon. He's talking to Satan. So, I mean, it's different. But I would not be talking to the creator of all existence. And I would not say, you have given me no children, so a servant in my household will be my heir. He's also basically calling God a liar. Because earlier, this Lord tells him that he's going to have all these descendants. So what he's doing right here is he's saying, You're lying. You lied. You lied because you've given me no children. I don't see it. Then the word of the Lord came to him, This man will not be your heir, but a son who is your own flesh and blood will be your heir. He took him outside and said, Look up at the sky and count the stars, if indeed you can count them. Then he said to him, So shall your offspring be. So, okay. It says, Abram believed the Lord, and he credited it to him as righteousness. Now this is a strange, I'm looking at the wording of this. Abram believed the Lord, and who? Abram or God? Credited it to him as righteousness. So did Abram credit this to God as righteousness? Or did God credit this to Abram as righteousness, but the letter H in he is not capitalized? So this is kind of a confusing sentence. But I'm going to just think that this means that God is crediting Abraham as righteous because he believed when the Lord said this. And I mean, and yeah, it would be hard to, especially as you get older, it would be hard to believe that you're going to have kids. It would be, I guess you could say, an act of faith to do this. So it was credited to him as righteousness. Okay, but I also need to say this too. If Abram is having audible conversations with God and has already witnessed how this God can plague his enemies and kill his enemies and give him wealth and money and land, by this point you should be pretty much confident that he's got you, like he's got your back. So faith at this point is kind of pathetic or kind of meaningless. You've already seen a lot up to this point. I wouldn't really call it faith or righteousness. It would just be like, it just wouldn't be faith, I guess what I'm saying. Verse 7, He also said to him, I am the Lord who brought you out of Ur of the Chaldeans to give you this. Here we go, more land. I'm giving you this land. I'm giving you, you want land, you want to make some money, you want to, farm that stuff and make money. I get it. I'm going to give you your land. That's the God of the Old Testament. To give you this land to take possession of it. Oh, by the way, whenever this happens, most of the time somebody else already has the land that it requires they're going to be evicted by killing them. So just always remember that. Every time it says you're going to take possession of the land, you're going to take control of the land, that's code word for you're going to kill some people and it's okay because I told you can have the land. Verse 8, But Abraham said, Sovereign Lord, how can I know that I will gain possession? Or how can I know that I will gain possession of it? Verse 9, So the Lord said to him, Bring me a heifer, a goat, and a ram, each 3 years old, along with a dove and a young pigeon. Oh, they're all dead. They're all dead. Verse 10, Abraham brought these to him, cut them in two, and arranged the half opposite. This is disgusting. This is disgusting. I want you to actually see him doing this, cutting all of these animals in half. Okay? A heifer, a goat, a ram, 3 years old. Not like they're old and they're about to go. 3 years old. They're still pretty young. Along with a dove and a young pigeon. I'd like to see him catching these birds too. Oh shoot. I didn't go back to my notes from years ago about verse 14. Hold on, let me make sure. Yeah, it's funny how my notes are it's just like what I said. Oh yeah, I did point out in chapter 14, verse 20, the high priest is saying that God gave Abraham his victories, that the people he murdered was what God wanted. Yet I am reminded of a verse just chapters earlier in Genesis 9, verse 6, that says, Whoever sheds human blood, by humans shall their blood be shed. So, meaning in Genesis 9, 6, You're not allowed to kill people. Whoever sheds human blood, by humans shall their blood be shed. But then he just gives Abraham passes. Okay, I did just kill those people. For in the image of God has God made mankind. Meaning, you can't kill people because they're made in the image of God. So if you kill people, you're going to be killed. But then, what is it? About 6 or... Let's see, what chapter was that here? Yeah, about 5 chapters later, you've got God supposedly telling Abraham it's okay to kill all these people. So unless the people Abraham killed weren't human, yeah, Abraham is a murderer and his God is a liar who is always changing his mind, changing his laws. The super special high priest Melchizedek blesses Abraham for a job well done. In verse 20, first reference to the tithe. That's what I thought. I thought it was one of the first ones. And then when we go chapter 15, I'll do this after I get done reading through it here. Let's see what we got. Okay, so back to chapter 15. Yeah, so these poor animals are getting split in half. This is disgusting. Like, God couldn't just explain this to him. He says, no, first I need you to cut a bunch of animals in half so you'll understand. It's this kind of crap that I get sick of in getting through the Old Testament. I do. I want you to because I've been around a lot of animals out here, and I couldn't imagine. Like, I like cows, I like horses, they're just nice animals, you know. I cannot imagine walking one over to some altar and then just butchering it to pieces for some God's happiness. It's disgusting, okay? I'm so sick of it. I really am sick of it. The shedding of innocent blood does not make the holy God happy. It makes the evil God of the Old Testament happy, but it does not make the God, the Father of Jesus, happy. Verse 10, Abraham brought all these to him, cut them in two, and arranged the halves opposite each other. Oh, it's an arrangement of sorts. The birds, however, he did not cut in half. Then birds of prey came down on the carcasses, but Abraham drove them away. So, he's just letting them sit out there for a long while, too. As the sun was setting, long while, Abraham fell into a deep sleep, and a thick and dreadful darkness came over him. Maybe that's his conscience for just killing all those animals for no good reason. You know, this is probably where the evil voice to kill his own child came. It was already there earlier on. You can see it right here. He's having discussions with this evil voice in his head that's telling him to just kill animals and kill things to make God happy. And so it's no leap anymore that now once he has a kid, the same voice is saying, okay, I'll now kill your kid now too. Verse 13, then the Lord said to him, know for certain that for 400 years your descendants will be strangers in a country not their own, and they will be enslaved and mistreated there. Okay, I want to pause on this. There are two very real possibilities here. One is that the authors of the Old Testament wrote this in because they know this is going to happen. That's the easiest one, and it wouldn't be hard to do. They're going to make this look like a prophecy, but again, you have to look at when these books were written, and when you realize they were written many, many, many centuries after they happened, then you realize that there's really nothing prophetic about this. The other is that it could be legitimate, but keep in mind that demons can show you the future. The devil can show you the future. See, having a glimpse of the future does not mean, oh, this came from God. It could just be the authors wrote what they already knew was going to happen to make it look prophetic and give it like more validity, or it could have actually been demonic. But anyway, the writers are saying, the writers wrote, know for certain that for 400 years your descendants will be strangers in a country not their own, and they will be enslaved and mistreated there. But I will punish the nation they serve as slaves, and afterward they will come out with great possessions. So they'll be rich, so they got to go through a lot of pain, but they'll be rich. You, however, will go to your ancestors in peace and be buried at a good old age. In the 4th generation your descendants will come back here, for the sin of the Amorites has not yet reached its full measure. Oh yeah, he's got to let that one run. We got to let that sin just keep on running, you know. Don't just cut it off where it is. We got to wait till it's at its peak. What basically this just told people, and this is the really disgusting part. Anybody who read this is going to think now, if you want to have a prophecy, you got to kill a bunch of animals and split them in half and make an arrangement. And then maybe God will speak to you. Unfortunately, they're probably not suffering from the same mental illness that Abraham is suffering from. And so there's been a lot of animals that were probably killed to repeat this, to try to get a glimpse of the future. And nothing happened. Those animals really died for nothing. Verse 17, when the sun had set and the darkness had fallen, a smoking firepot with a blazing torch appeared and passed between the pieces. On that day the Lord made a covenant with Abraham and said, to your descendants I give this land from what... Again, he's not talking... This being is not talking about heaven. It's not talking about salvation. It's not talking about sin, the cleansing of one's heart. All it cares about is what Abraham cares about. All it cares about is land, property, money, ordering the murder of people. I just want to make this a point so nobody just glosses over this. Verse 18. On that day, the Lord Satan made a covenant with Abraham and said, to your descendants I give this land from Wadi of Egypt to the great river, the Euphrates, the land of Kenites, Gazite, all these other lands. So he's given him all this land. That implies a lot of people are going to die, because it's theirs now, and they got to evict all the former tenants. Because, like I said, Satan, the prince of this world, he has all these things, and he can give them to whoever he wants. Do I need to remind you of that? So let's look at my old notes and see what I have here. The God of Abraham the liar is concerned about Abraham's lineage and inheritance issues. Yeah, strange, isn't it? Verse 9, the God of Abraham the liar. I always like to say that because I need to keep reminding people that this idol that people have made out of Abraham, he's a liar. Okay, so yeah, the God of Abraham the liar isn't concluded or happy until some more innocent animals are sacrificed for him. Yep, that's right. He couldn't just give him the vision, couldn't just give him no, he has to kill innocent animals. Verse 18 and also 17 verse 8 are lines that are cause for much human bloodshed. When God promised Abraham's descendants the land that belongs to other people, Jews to this day believe that they are entitled to other people's homes because of this nonsense. Stupid people who follow a stupid God. It would have been kinder if their God just used his teleporter to teleport the people who live there away, so they didn't have to be murdered by Abraham's descendants. Yeah, that's a good point, old Daniel. That is a good point. If God really wanted his people, in quotes, to have this land, it would have been good that he chose a land that was empty, or he just teleported those people somewhere else. Or just made them think, hey, I want to move, and they just decided to leave, Nope, gotta kill them all. Chapter 16. Yeah, not gotta catch them all, gotta kill them all. Pokey God. Chapter 16. Now Sarai, Abram's wife, had borne him no children. Oh, it's her bad. Here we go, it's her bad. It's her bad that she bore him no children. But she had an Egyptian slave named Hagar. So she said to Abram, the Lord has kept me from having children. Go sleep with my slave. Perhaps I can build a family through her. Oh, that's right. It might actually be her. Because he does, I think, he has a kid with someone else. Okay, so Abram's wife is giving Abram permission to go have sex with her slave. And maybe you can have a family through her. Abraham agreed to what Sarai said. That wasn't a hard argument. So after Abram had been living in Canaan for 10 years, Sarai, his wife, took her Egyptian slave Hagar. Okay, now if I remember this all right, this is really sad. Okay, this girl has no say in this. I need to point this out, that this Hagar has no say in this. She's a slave. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention. So Abraham is a slave owner. He believes in owning people as property and doing what he wants with them. Having sex with them, whatever. They're property. Okay, this is Abraham. Okay? It's repulsive what he's doing here. Now, not like the other things weren't also repulsive. This is one more thing to the list. So this girl has no choice. She has to have sex with this old Abraham, and she's got to have his kid. Verse 4, he slept with Hagar, and she conceived. When she knew she was pregnant, she began to despise her mistress. Now, this is so stupid. Sarai, it was her idea in the first place to have Abraham sleep with her slave. But now Sarai's mad at her when it was her own idea. Then Sarai said to Abraham, "You are responsible for the wrong I am suffering." How stupid is this? Of course, this is classic woman here. Can't take responsibility for her own bad choices. When she starts blaming Abraham, "You are responsible for the wrong I'm suffering. I feel bad, and it's your fault, even though it was her idea. I put my slave in your arms, and now she knows she is pregnant. She despises me. May the Lord judge between you and me." "Your slave is in your hands," Abraham said. "Do whatever you think best." Wow. Yeah, if you don't like her, you could just get rid of her or whatever. I don't care. Then Sarai mistreated Hagar, so she fled from her. This is sad. Abraham, what a prick. "Alright, well fine, quit whining at me. You just go do whatever you want to her," is what he basically just said. So she probably beat this girl or who knows what. So much so that Hagar fled from her. Fled for her life. Then the angel of the Lord, this is so disgusting. The angel of the Lord found Hagar near a spring in the desert. It was the spring that is beside the road to Shur. And he said, "Hagar, slave of Sarai, where have you come from and where are you going?" And then she says, "I'm running away from my mistress Sarai," she answered. Then the angel of the Lord told her, "Go back to your mistress and submit to her." This girl is running away from abuse. And probably to save her life. And this angel of the Lord, more like this demon, this angel of Satan, told her to go back to her mistress and submit to her. The angel added, "I will increase your descent." Who cares? Man, it's like this angel thinks that we're all the same and we all want the same stuff. I'll just give him land, property, money, descendants. That'll make him happy. Verse 10, the angel added, "I will increase your descendants so much that they will be too numerous to count." Yeah, you're selling this to everybody. I just explained this. Eventually everybody's going to trace back to somebody. This angel needs a new sales pitch because right now this girl is running for her life, and the number of descendants I don't think is a really good deal. And it says, verse 11, the angel of the Lord also said to her, "You are now pregnant, and you will give birth to a son. You shall name him Ishmael." You don't get any saying this. We're going to tell you what to name him. "You shall name him Ishmael. For the Lord," keep in mind, Ishmael is then later a curse. Even though the Lord is literally just saying you need to go back and have your son who's going to be a curse. "You shall name him Ishmael, for the Lord has heard of your misery. He will be a wild donkey of a man. His hand will be against everyone, and everyone's hand against him." Wow, great. "And he will live in hostility toward all his brothers." Wow, I really want to have this kid now. You just told me he's going to always be fighting with everybody, and everybody's going to be fighting with him. He's going to be a wild donkey of a man. Yeah, let's go back and have this baby. Verse 13, she gave this name to the Lord who spoke to her, "You are the God who sees me," for she said, "I have now seen the one who sees me." Just because this demon knew that she was unhappy, now she feels special. "I have now seen the one who sees me." Demons and Satan can see you too. Verse 14, that is why the well was called Bir Lahai Roy, whatever. It is still there between Kadesh and Bered. So Hagar bore Abram a son, and Abram gave the name Ishmael to the son she had born. Abram was 86 years old. Oh, that's nasty. When Hagar bore him Ishmael. I've got a neighbor that's like 83. I could not imagine some poor slave girl being forced to have sex with this guy. I could not imagine it. Like he's already nasty looking now. I couldn't imagine like 2 years from now. And she had no choice. It's rape. It's slavery. And it's rape. Okay? So we're going to add that to the list for Abram. The liar. The pimp. The greedy patriarch who's got a lot of money. Could give a crap anyway. The murderer. The crazy person who hears voices. The slaughterer of animals. And now the rapist of women and owner of slaves. What a great hero. Genesis 17. And I want to pause, actually, before I do this, I do want to say, this is why I'm doing these videos. Because a lot of people don't have the courage to get through this stuff. They would rather just think, hey, I don't know how to reconcile all this Old Testament stuff with New Testament, but I was told it's all the same stuff, it's the same God, and I'm just going to go with this. This is why I'm doing this. I'm doing a lot of the ugly grunt work, getting through this and talking this through. And constantly just reminding you of what Jesus said and taught, and then applying it to the Old Testament. And you can see that the Old Testament is just a bunch of evil nonsense. Makes you question a lot of things, even about, like I said, some verses that probably were added to the New Testament to make it all fit. Okay, so let's see what I got from my notes here for 16 here. Verse 2 through 4, Abram agrees to adultery. Yeah. He was totally okay with his wife. Well, it's not the first time. He pimped her out the first time, but now he's going to do it again. He ordered his wife to commit adultery the first time, and now he's going to commit adultery with her slave. But hey, rules for me, not for thee, right? That's kind of the hypocritical motto of these people. Verse 4 through 10, God of the liar, adulterer Abram is pro-slavery and abuse here. This is a sad part, really. This woman who was a slave was forced to have Abram's kid. So she was mistreated by Abram's wife. Then when she runs away, the angel tells her to go back and deal with it. An evil angel, that is. Satan playing games, I think. Yeah. I think so too, old Daniel. I think so too. Let's go to chapter 17. The covenant of circumcision. Okay, so keep in mind, Abraham hears voices, kills animals to hopefully get a vision. He's crazy. And now we're going to start cutting parts of the penis off, because this is what crazy people do. Okay. When Abram was 99 years old, oh man, he's out there. The Lord appeared to him and said, I am God Almighty. Walk before me faithfully and be blameless. Then I will make my covenant between me and you, and will greatly increase your numbers. Here we go. Numbers. Abraham fell face down, and God said to him, or I should say, this being. I in respect for even the title God, I am really sick of having to keep calling this being God. Sometimes I call it Satan for just to annoy some people, and because it's probably accurate. But I want to just say this being, this voice, because I think that's more accurate. Okay, he had an experience where he heard a voice, and so you decide. Okay, Abraham fell face down, and the voice said to him, As for me, this is my covenant with you. You will be the father of many nations. No longer will you be called Abram. Your name will be Abraham, for I have made you the father of many nations. I will make you very fruitful. I will make nations of you, and kings will come from you. I will establish my covenant as an everlasting covenant between me and you and your descendants after you for the generations to come, to be your God and the God of the descendants after you. The whole land of Canaan, where you now reside as a foreigner, I will give as an everlasting possession to you and your descendants after you, and I will be their God. So, again, land. Numbers, land. You're going to be a popular guy. No talk about heaven. No talk about redemption. No talk about a Messiah. No talk about anything that actually impacts anyone else other than selfish, lying Abraham. It's all about him. Well, I know, the descendants. Okay. But it's still linked to Abraham. He's not talking about justice between the nations. He's not talking about love your neighbor as yourself, love your neighboring country as yourself. No, he's talking about you're going to kill these people and it's okay because you're my guy. I'm sick of this crap. And again, you got to wonder what parts the Jewish priests didn't add with hindsight, like they could have just added that whole paragraph just to say, see, right there, there's the promise. So now we're justified in trying to take this land. Verse 9, Then God said to Abraham, As for you, you must keep my covenant, you and your descendants after you for the generations to come. This is my covenant with you and your descendants after you. The covenant you are to keep. Every male among you shall be circumcised. You are to undergo circumcision, and it will be a sign of the covenant between me and you. For the generations to come, every male among you who is 8 days old must be circumcised. So God is really concerned about what people's penises look like. I just need to make a note of this. God really wants his people to have a different looking penis. Think about that. For generations to come, every male among you who is 8 days old must be circumcised, including those born in your household or bought with money from a foreigner. Oh man, that sucks. You get sold into slavery, and then they're going to cut part of your penis off as an adult. I'm sure that is not a fun thing to recover from. Those who are not your offspring. Okay, so he's basically saying even those born in your household or bought. So even your slaves, your property, people, they all have to have circumcision. Whether born in your household or bought with your money, they must be circumcised. My covenant in your flesh is to be an everlasting covenant. Any uncircumcised male who has not been circumcised in the flesh will be cut off from his people, and he has broken my covenant. Wow. No forgiveness, this God. And you get to keep your penis in one piece, too. But no forgiveness here. If you don't cut your penis off the way I say it, you are not one of my people. Again, not talking about heaven, not talking about hell, not talking about justice, not talking about anything. Just who belongs to my household? Let me see your penis. Okay, you're one of my people. It's ridiculous. God also said to Abraham, as for Sarai your wife, you are no longer to call her Sarai. Her name will be Sarah. I will bless her and will surely give you a son by her. I will bless her so that she will be the mother of nations. I thought that was Mary, right? The mother of Jesus. I will bless her so that she will be the mother of nations. Kings of peoples will come from her. Again, what did Jesus say about how you are to be called brother? Don't call anybody father. You have only one Father, your Father in heaven, and you are all brothers. Well, here we have the God of the Old Testament creating a structure, basically saying that kings of people will come to her. So she'll be the mother of nations. So she's not just a normal person now. She's the mother of nations. Abraham is now the father of nations. It's a hierarchy that he's establishing here, the devil. And Jesus completely destroys this when he says that you are all brothers and sisters. There is no hierarchy. And you're not to call anybody father. They all called him Father Abraham, Father Abraham. You gotta believe. I'm pretty sure Jesus was referring to Father Abraham as the title, and he was correcting them and saying you're not to call anybody father, except because you only have your Father in heaven. Well, they always called him Father Abraham, and so Jesus was correcting them. So anyway, he said that your wife's going to be mother of all nations, yada. Verse 17, Abraham fell face down, he laughed, and he said to himself, will a son be born to a man 100 years old? Will Sarah bear a child at the age of 90? And Abraham said to God, if only Ishmael might live under your blessing. Then God said to him, or this voice said to him, yes, but your wife Sarah, it just seems kind of ridiculous, the argumentative, yeah, but your wife Sarah will bear you a son, and you will call him Isaac. I don't know, it just seemed kind of like too much of like a voice in his head, I will establish my covenant with him as an everlasting covenant for his descendants after him. And as for Ishmael, I have heard you. I will surely bless him. I will surely bless him. You just said earlier that he's going to be a wild donkey of a man and everyone's going to be fighting with him. He's going to be fighting with everyone. But it says, I will surely bless him. This God of the Old Testament is a constant liar, always changing his story. I will make him fruitful and will greatly increase his numbers. Yeah, to fight and kill other people, I guess from what you said. He will be the father of 12 rulers, and I will make them into a great nation. Great, never said good. But my covenant I will establish with Isaac, whom Sarah will bear to you by this next year. When he had finished speaking with Abraham, the voice went up from him. On that very day, Abraham took his son Ishmael and all those born in his household. Oh, this is going to be rough. Or bought with his money every male in his household and circumcised them as God told him. Abraham. Now, I want you to imagine that you're just going about your day to day as a slave. Life sucks. You're contemplating suicide, that kind of thing. And then this crazy 99-year-old man says, "I want to cut your penis. And if you don't do what he says, you're going to die. He's going to kill you." Think about that. Verse 24. Abraham was 99 years old when he was circumcised, and his son Ishmael was 13. Abraham and his son Ishmael were both circumcised on that very day. Every male in Abraham's household, including those born in the household or bought from a foreign, was circumcised. Okay. So this was chapter 17. Let's look back at my old notes. Oh, I wrote quite a bit of stuff here. Probably a lot of the same stuff. It's off that God introduces himself differently to Abraham here than when God does so to Moses. To Moses, he just says, "I am." But to Abraham, he says, "I am God Almighty." It's kind of a proud versus modest. Yeah, that's not a bad observation, old Daniel. God is once again strangely obsessed with what's on Abraham's mind. Yeah, his lineage, etc. Stupid things that stupid primitive humans worry about. And somehow this God is all about it as a high priority. All the suffering in the world, man. Hold on. All the suffering in the world. Oh, yeah. Okay, here's what I'm trying to say. So we got all this suffering going on in the world. But God's like, but man, we sure got to take care of Abraham and his line and make sure that's done correctly. Not like anything else matters. Only lying Abraham's concerns matter. And then I say later, Jesus says that none of us, are to be called Father. We are all brothers. Okay, so I brought that up. Good, I got that. Abraham's God is saying he will be the father to many nations. So he's in contradiction with what Jesus instructed us. And this blessing is disturbing. What wonderful things has Abraham done to deserve it, other than allow his slave girl that he cheated with to be mistreated? This is really so basically continually rewarding evil behavior. That's what the devil does. 9:14, genital manipulating. God only loves you if you would alter your genitals. Good and evil don't matter. Just whoever's dick is cut right. This is almost like a sick prank from some teenage alien telling his pet humans to cut their dicks or else they won't get into the promised land. I wonder how much more hate and bloodshed has resulted from this circumcision order. Evil God. And then 5 and 15 I write, Abraham's God is really concerned about how their names sound. Better change them. Yeah, change your name. Alright, I'm going to stop this one here.